Please take your seats, everybody. Please take your seats. We need to go on. Ladies and gentlemen, the clearing of the table hasn't been quite as prompt as we'd expected, but we'll have to move on and we'll run out of time. Here we are for panel 7. Take your seats, please. Now for panel 7. Panel 7's on the subject of smoothing of global trade flows through improved compliance and security protocols. And it will be ably chaired by Dr. Hans-Georg Raber, who is the head of tax policy and customs duties from a company very much in the news, Volkswagen AG. Dr. Raber.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You can hear me? Okay. It's great to speak to you in very interesting times. The topic I like to highlight is the importance of the customs function. And of course, I don't do it alone. I have two prestigious panelists with me who will present themselves when they start. We thought we divide it into 3 parts. First part is about 10 minutes. I do some presentation on customs, what we are doing in customs function. Then Yannis will follow with presenting the Costco port here in Piraeus, about 5 kilometers away or so. Yes. Just close to the mega run. And then Russell will follow with a little bit presentation of 20 to 25 minutes. So we should have enough time for your questions. Who is thinking, first a question to you, who is thinking that customs function in wherever in the world, might be in M&Es, is an interesting function? Or nobody? Look. So, oh, 1. Oh, very good. 2. Okay, the majority is thinking, has no idea or thinking it might be not so interesting. So I like to change this, and of course my panelists also. This is our major mission of today, because the problem is, if you think a function is not good, and of course personally, I always wanted to do very interesting things. That's the reason why I started with taxes, so I come with a tax background here, but you might also think taxes are also not interesting, but you might think taxes are more interesting than customs. And now I show you how customs can even be implemented with a strategic vision into a company. Second question, and then I tell you something. Who of the organizations you are representing has ever implemented a customs strategy, like an enterprise strategy? No one. So we might have been the first one to implement such a strategy. I show you some elements of the strategy. First, the mega trends in taxes, customs, and trade compliance. I'm not so good in technology, but it worked. First, as I'm also responsible for tax policy, the first thing which fuels the strategy is you have to watch and identify mega trends in your area. And mega trends in customs, trade compliance, and taxes, I have here on this slide. You see some of the trends are quite recent ones. For example, the trend which you see here, tax competition versus harmonization. You don't know which trend is prevailing. Some of the trends are contradicting. And what I have not shown here, because it's more or less a business secret, what patterns have we derived from these trends? Yeah? This would go a little bit too far, but it's all these trends where we found different patterns we have to react, and to have the right personnel, right HR, right processes the right organization to cope with it, to be better than our competitors. For example, you see e-tax and customs, increasing transparency and compliance, risk and quality management. Some of the aspects I think we have already talked about here in a supply chain context, but they are also relevant for this customs and tax consequence. And you see here on the far right side, the high number of free trade agreements. The Doha round with a worldwide agreement has failed, or I don't know, has been postponed, whatever. But the number of FTAs is increasing. The problem is, you might have heard about the spaghetti bowl, because each of these free trade agreements is different. And you might imagine what administrative work it is to get the advantages of all these different free trade agreements. And we have more NTBs, which is, for example, non-tariff barriers, which may be of administrative nature, regulatory nature, technical nature, whatever, but also cultural. Cultural you can't control, yeah, the regulatory ones, yes. So you see all this bunch. I could talk about this chart for more than 1 hour, so my panelists would not have the opportunity. But just to give you an overview what we are doing. And now customs-wide, only with regard to customs, this was taxation and customs, what megatrends did we identify? First, security. Customs is no more so much focusing only on duties, but also on security. Security of supply chain. I think I should not tell more about this, which means the authorized economic operator is coming up, which has different names and different, yeah, CTPAT, trusted trader. You will talk about this, Russell. And the focus is more on processes instead of single transactions. Next is supply chain cost reduction. Yeah? How can we do it? By FTAs, customs valuation is one of the means. And supply chain cost reduction does not mean dull cost cutting. Yeah? It's often mixed up, yeah, to say, hey, you can no more do this. It's a dull cost cutting. This company will not have any future. Cost reduction means higher cost efficiency, using economies of scale, using synergies, and so on. This is a smart supply chain cost reduction. And customs is a fundamental part of it. Next is interaction with tax and others. We have already talked about the importance of communication, cooperation with a lot of functions within the group. There's one function which is also more and more important to talk with from the customs perspective. It's the tax function. Very, very easy example. Customs are more interested in a very high import price, yeah, because then the customs duty is higher. But the tax authorities of the respective country are more interested in a very low import price, because then their tax revenue is higher. So, and if only the tax department is designing a transaction or process, then it's wrong. And if only the customs department is designing a process, it's also wrong, because the transfer price is either too high or too low. So you have to leave both authorities a little bit unsatisfied, and then you are more or less in a safe zone. E-customs, compliance, transparency, automatization. We talked a lot about this. What are the objectives and consequences of these mega trends? Centralization. Yeah? There we use synergies. The authorities do it. They centralize a lot. And the multinational enterprises should also do it. Use centers of competences, IT systems. You can only get the centralization via IT systems, because you cannot be centralized the way it's with all this data manually. Then quality. The quality has to increase with regard to data, processes, documentation from the regulatory compliance perspective. And of course, communication. Higher communication with internal, external partners, IT, procurement, sales, advisors, authorities. So we are really integrated, which was not the case 10 years back. Yeah? Nobody knew where the customs function is, and even the board members responsible didn't know it. And then efficiency in organization and processes. Of course, this is all high level, but we derived a they are very interesting and major aspects. We should widen the scope. Most of the companies only do it supply chain oriented, which means import and export compliance. That's it. All the other things which I have written here to be involved in strategic business targets as a customs function, to create business models together with other functions, of course, yeah? To be involved in projects, to increase visibility and so on. These are core functions to get the right value out of your customs function, which is for normal logistics people, which I knew 10 years back, quite new. But it's really it's important for the business, otherwise you don't create value. And we developed, based on these ideas and based on our enterprise strategy, we developed a strategy. Here you see the vision, number one, customs function worldwide automotive industry. We can talk a lot about KPIs here. What are the right KPIs? How can we benchmark? But it's the vision, and out of this vision we identified key strategic targets, 4 of them. And normally, in the past, the guys in customs only focused on excellence in customs processes. Yeah, they try to optimize the processes and so on. This is quite important. Yeah, IT systems and so on. We should also change the culture, and we already changed the culture. For example, with our IT guys. Yeah, before it was, we as a customs guys, we need, and you have to put it into IT systems. No, the new culture is, and this cannot come from one day to the other, we are all in one boat. We are one team. And if something happens there, we cannot say, hey, who was it? Yeah, responsibilities. So why have we not fulfilled our targets? Or not, was it IT or was it us? But this is really a process, I can tell you, which is still ongoing, but we have achieved a lot of results so far. The first thing we really have, and this is why it's on the left side, because we read from left to right, top global team. If you don't have the right people, then you have nothing. And I can tell you also something about diversity. In my team, we have 56% women, including leading functions. And this is because the applicants in the last years were to the extent of 70% women. If we would have it vice versa, only 30% applicants, the number of women would not have increased. So we are dependent, also diversity-wise, on what, on the conditions, yeah, which are outside of us. Because I cannot make the number of applicants female or male or whatever. This is reality. What we can do is to hire the right personnel, is to do the same what I try to do here and we try to do, to show that customs function is not a dull function, yeah, which can be done by everybody. This was our CFO, who is responsible for this, thought this still 6 years back. So to increase the visibility, to go to them, to show we can write master theses in customs and so on. We have created with the University of Münster a master of customs, which is called MCA, Master of Customs Administration, which was not there before. In this way, it's called Master of International Customs, Taxation and Trade Compliance. And all these measures help to enhance the customs function the way it should be. And I'm neutral because I'm not a customs guy, I'm a tax guy, so I might be better than a real customs guy because this customs guy might seem others to be too selfish, yeah, and too exaggerating his or her function. Then what we also implemented is the excellence in customs advisory and policy. You might know how a tax advisor works in projects, yeah, involved in projects, advising, structuring, and so on. We must do it from the customs perspective as well. Because in Europe, there has been a notion in the last decade, oh, customs we will get rid of customs within the next 10 years due to the EU unification and more countries coming into the European Union. But when, as a global firm, we of course have to deal with projects in Malaysia, in China, and between different countries outside of Europe, and then customs is playing a major role, because you know the automotive industry is one of the most strategic industries in the view of many governments, yeah? Thailand, China, yes, and other, Brazil, and so the duties are quite high. So, and but you must find the right people. And it's like the hen and the egg. You must enhance the visibility of your customs functions, then you find the right people, yeah, but you must do it more or less at the same time. Because for a dull job, you only find dull people. But for an interesting job, which is really involved in projects, which are doing advisory work and so on, you find also very motivated and intelligent people. Increase of group value, this is more or less derived out of these three other things, which does mean not only figures, like the tax rate. The overall tax rate is a dull figure to measure the performance of a tax department. The customs rate is a dull figure to measure the performance of a customs department. But there are figures which must be derived, of course, who can measure the increase and the value addition given by the customs department. And you should not forget it's an unmeasurable figure, and you see it also by the events we suffer now. Compliance and reputation. Yeah? We can only do it in our department where we are responsible for. If we are compliant, we safeguard our reputation in this regard. And this is one of the most important values we create besides figures, besides optimization points. Yes, I think more or less this is what I wanted to say. We can discuss about this later, but then we come to Yannis, and he likes to tell you something about his experiences, and then Russell.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
Good morning to all of you. Very warm welcome in Greece. Kalimera. We like very much you to come here and to our country because it's a very difficult situation. My name is Yannis Despotidis. Yannis like Yannis Varoufakis. And of course, you don't know why I am here. I'm here because I like Audi and Volkswagen cars. And that's why Dr. Hans gave me 10 minutes to speak about the biggest investment in Greece. Of course, Russell have more than me. It's about 25 minutes because he's a better friend of Mr. Hans. That's why I try to be very fast about Costco. If you try to find downstairs of my name in a brochure, I am a CFO of Costco Greece, but for a small mistake, it writes DFO. DFO, I think, is correct too. Why? Because if you try to arrange economic matters in Greece, you must use drugs. It's a very difficult situation. That's why our company is a big miracle. And we try on. Of course, the Greek guys here knows what I mean and understand completely the matters. First of all, I'm not a guru or a doctor. All these experts are here today. I'm a tax advisor, and that's why I try to tell you a few things. And after, if you like something to ask me, I'm to your disposal. Our group have 3 companies in Greece. The first one is Costco Greece. Costco Greece is, as we say, agent at the first phase. And at the second step and third step is a logistic company. And work as a control tower for the other companies of the group. Have more than 100 employees. 4 Chinese and all the others Greeks. The second company is named PCDC. It's a warehouse inside to the free zone type 1 of Port of Piraeus. It's the only one warehouse in Greece work inside the free zone. That means repacking special, simple works or something like that, can use it in very, very attractive regimes of VAT and income tax and all this. And of course, our diamond, as we say, is the PCT, Piraeus Container Terminal. Piraeus Container Terminal is the port of Piraeus. And for us, it's a very, very attractive and it's very big investment. Because the Chinese company likes to invest in Greece because of the geographical position, the proximity in Europe and Middle East, and many years now, day per day, bigger ships, mother ships, come from China to Piraeus as the first port, as a gate for the products inside to Europe. Many multinational companies now work with us to make in the port of Piraeus as a gate for Central Europe. And of course, all this is not so easy. All the multinational companies likes to test us, and the test is very, very hard for us. Everyone in Costco, I want to tell you about the employees of PCT. PCT have more than 1,500 employees. And our target is in 2 years to have more than 2,000 employees. Only 5 Chinese, and all the other is Greek, from Greece, and is for blue collar, white collar, any kind of collar. It's no problem for us. The management, the expertise is from China, of course, but the management is Greek. Mr. Angelos Karakostas is our managing director, and I think Greece and Costco and Piraeus must be very, very honored about him. Many times we discuss alone, and we speak and say, okay, forget this, don't do it, and say again and again, no, it's for Greece, it's for our work, jobs, country, etc. The Piraeus, the PCT, is a full authorized economic organization. As I said before, have a known free zone type 1. The free zone type 1 is not a, as we say, bonded warehouse or something like that. It's a free zone, you know exactly what it is. Now we try to, if we have the privatization with private port, we have more warehouses and more and more investment from Chinese group. The nationalization, calibration, configuration, etc., I don't think it's necessary to say something. Innovative VAT regimes, I want to say again and again, we have a big problem with the Ministry of Economics in Greece because, of course, hear us and understand completely what to do, but it's a slow motion of all these conditions. And many years now, we try to explain all these kind of the regimes, the deferment, the 4,200 regulation, which is very important for the multinational companies for trans trade. No to pay VAT in customs and transfer the products outside of European community, let's say from China to the Central Europe, the big markets. Of course, we have now very attractive laws. I think it's the best in Europe. Of course, the Netherlands, Holland is very flexible and very, as we say, fast. If the Greek government take care and made a new regime, of course, under the regulation of European Community, after that, the Dutch government, in a few days, made what the Greek authorities made in 1 month, as we say. That's why we're afraid about that. And we try to have always the best solution for our clients. Port of Piraeus development, as we see, PCT is COSCO, and PPA is the public authority. It's what we say now with the economic crisis. We must, in February, I think, pass the privatization, and we interesting to buy the PPA, the shares of PPA. That means we are not 2 ports in Piraeus, but only 1. In 2010, we made the investment. We have, as we say, the numbers. And at the end of 2015, you see how many difference we have from the day 1. All this, of course, is from trans-trade, because the market in Greece, due to the economic crisis, have a big problem. All the companies, customers, have a big problem. The capital controls and all this. Piraeus port is the 39 in the world, and 4th or, I don't know, 30 in the Mediterranean. Our target is to be the first in the Mediterranean and 20th all over the world. Have a capacity for 4.8 million TEUs. And our target without PPA is next year to be 6.2 million TEUs. We have an investment more than 600 million. It's the highest private investment in Greece for infrastructure and all this. The agreement with PPA to buy the company is to make the infrastructure of PPA too. COSCO made the infrastructure of PPA and after start the job and made these measures. 1,500 employees. In 3 years, it's about 2,000. And I say it's 99% Greeks. More than 600 million euro for labor expenses due today. And now we have already discussed with the government of Fyro Macedonia, Serbia, and other Balkanic countries to collaborate for a train. Because COSCO have more than this percentage for Greek rail cargo, we like very much the structure of OSE, the trains in Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, etc., to be as a big, as we say, road in between China and Central Europe. Of course, train have a big problems in Greece, as the Greeks knows about that. But I think everything go well for our country. It's very, very important for us to make something like that. Many multinational companies collaborate with us. I don't know about Sony because it's here, but HP and the other ones, I'm sure for that. I see before Dr. Hans say about security. Security, our port have the best one. It's a strike-free model. From day 1, We haven't any kind of strikes. The big problem in Greece is, as you know, the public sector have strikes, they have problems. Everything works with a very big responsibility from the management and, of course, from workers in the port. We try to educate him, etc. Of course, all this is very important to have a very good IT team because all the multinational companies, and Russell tell us after, have a different software and work must be compatible with our system, with customs of Greece software, etc. I don't want to tell you because our management don't like to say something like that, but I feel comfortable to say today. We made some donates to Greek customs or to Greek authorities to change the software, to be more efficient, to make, as we say, the e-customs, as we say. We have security machines for police use, etc. And of course, this is not in our policy to tell something like that in newspaper, magazines, or television. We have a very low profile, and that's why many things like this is not very common. We prepare monthly reporting and for custom transaction. We have an internal organization effective. Of course, we are owners of a free trade zone type 1. That means we have the best safety and security all over Europe. And of course, we have a custom inside to our port. The customs is open more hours than usually the customs is open in Greece. And we try to make the new investments with the computers, etc., to use customs. No one take discuss with a person in person. Everything is electronical, and this is a very good idea in Greece because we have many years before some kind of corruption, and this stopped something like that. The multinational companies knows exactly the cost. We try to have e-customs. That means everything is by emails, all is without any negotiation and nothing with customs. I said before about the proposal and support to Greek authorities for the legislations. I don't think it's necessary to say something else. We try to find in Netherlands, in Germany, in Belgium, the best regimes, and we try to explain in the Ministry of Economics and kindly ask him to vote this and make this. I'm sure the new government have this feeling and help us, help Greece to make a new regimes. And in a few days, we have a new law about logistics, and it's very important for us because they give us a very big step ahead of the other countries. Of course, the marketing team is there, Vicky and Maria, and these top experts. We have e-record keeping, and of course, the excellent tax advisory team. You understand why, because I'm here. The supply chain cost reduction with Control Tower is the first company in Greece who established a Control Tower. That means all the multinational companies can collaborate with one person or one team, and everything arranged after that in high standards. I want very fast to explain something. I don't want to say about the Costco perspective in Greece. I want to tell you something which is very important for Greece. I try to put two countries, Greece and the Netherlands. The red one is the population. It's near to this. The blue is the imports of Netherlands. Is more than, as we say, 600 billions imports. And Greece have 62. If we say 1% is for inside the country customers, the Netherlands imports 589, the population is 16. If we have 100 billion USD, the estimate value of transit trade is about 400 billions. You know what means 500 millions with 10% duties is 50 billions duties for products, no for inside the Netherlands, but Germany, Greece, or France, Spain, etc. Greece have 62 and 52. I think it's a very, very small, it's very low. If we take, as we say, for the market, less than 10%, 20%, that means for Greece, it's not necessary to increase the VAT of the islands. You know, it's not necessary to decrease the salaries. It's not necessary to say our hospitals have problems with structure, etc. And all this with low cost for multinational companies, all this with just a small help from the Ministry of Economics. We have discussed with this government. I hope so, understand something like that and give the opportunity. The multinational companies accept the geographical advantage of Piraeus. Piraeus help to decrease the cost, and Greece, of course, to earn something because we have a big problem with economic crisis. That's my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you like something to answer, don't hesitate to tell me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and an honour. And thank you to John for his kind invitation to be here amongst some esteemed business executives, supply chain executives, and obviously academia. Certainly from my perspective, it's been great to talk to a number of people in around supply chain. It's not my area of expertise, but I guess to have an understanding of this particular skill set is important. So to actually, if you like, to connect the customs function and international trade function. It has many levels, as both Dr. Raba and Yanis have talked about. There are many complex issues around free trade agreements, etc. What I was hoping to do today was trying to set the scene in relation to some of the work that's being done in Australia. I think that mirrors really already what's been happening in Europe with the authorised economic operator programs, giving that supply chain security and also that smooth passage through customs borders across countries. And even if you go across to the US, obviously, with their customs trade partnership against terrorism, CTPAT, and their importer self-assessment program. So indeed, with America, the US have decided they're on a trial for trusted trader, is where they're bringing those two schemes together under one umbrella. And certainly in Australia, we've now decided to go trusted trader to name our scheme, again combining supply chain security and customs compliance. So what I thought I'd do, just perhaps to set the scene in that relation to that, we just want to play a very short video from Australian Border Force that gives you a bit of an understanding, a bit of a flavour around these sort of schemes and how they operate. Thank you.
The Australian Trusted Trader program is a trade facilitation program. It will be an internationally recognised program. It will allow us to progress mutual recognition arrangements with our key trading partners, which will be a key benefit to our exporters. The program is quite innovative because we're including both supply chain security, trade compliance, we're including imports and exports and all participants in the supply chain. This program will bring a key element of our overall compliance framework, so we will be able to risk assess a large proportion of our low risk trade, and that will assist us in managing the increasing volumes of trade that we're facing in the future.
For industry to be able to effectively and efficiently move their goods over our border, whether it's incoming or outgoing, they need to clear border. They need to clear our processes. And at the moment, that's done in a very mechanical, very bureaucratised way. It's a high touch, quite inefficient process, which is not enabled very strongly by technology. And so if we can liberalise the flow of goods in a way that still ensures our security, what we will see is benefits. If we can lift our trade by a single percentage point, we will have a productivity increase in this economy of up to $1.5 billion, significant benefits. And so our task is to try and liberalise that trade, to allow companies to be able to accredit themselves, to be able to assure us of their supply chains and the security of those in the context of risks to us in terms of drugs or firearms or things of that ilk. Over the next 12 months, we're going to run a pilot, starting quite modestly with 4 companies, 4 trusted, reputable companies that we believe will prove the concept. And over that period of time, we will grow to 40 or 50 companies. And so when we bring those companies on, we want to ensure the integrity of our system and our scheme, and we need to ensure that industry is absolutely mindful that they have as much to gain out of the success of the Trusted Trader scheme as we do as an organisation.
Through the next 12 months, this is an opportunity for both the portfolio and for industry to work together to test the processes, the whole process around accreditation, also to test the benefits and how they'll be working, and to identify other benefits as well. So at the end of the pilot, we're hoping that we can attract a broad range of community once we open the doors to a program that's been well tested in the Australian environment.
Ultimately, it is industry that we need to be able to assure us of their supply chains. So if I'm an industry trader, I'm a multinational that operates in Australia, to be able to be competitive in industry, I have got a high degree of fidelity and knowledge of my supply chains going right through to the production points offshore, the logistical chain that supports that, the retailers, the various links in that value chain. And I know that because I want to make sure that my produce is not contaminated. I want to make sure that my produce or my commodity is of the highest quality, so it's competitive in a commercial market when it lands here. And what we need to do, what we need industry to do, is to use all of that deep forensic knowledge of its supply chains to then also assure us of the security aspects. So we need to be assured that there are no rogue traders along that value chain that will piggyback and place in that supply chain goods that are prohibited, goods that may harm our community. So that relationship is really important because we have to allow industry to accredit itself, to provide those assurances. We will then check that accreditation, and then from time to time, we need to go in and conduct some audit and compliance activities. But we also need industry to be honest in that relationship, and if they come across some doubt, some vulnerability in their supply chain, they need to have the option of saying, we would like to suspend our accreditation for a time being while we fix up this vulnerability. So that mutually interdependent, that trust relationship with industry is hugely important. But we can't forget the significant benefit and dividend for us as an enforcement agency. If we can place a significant proportion of trade, up to 80% of some countries, under a trusted trader scheme, which only needs some minimal resources to do some audit and compliance work, what it enables us to do as an enforcement agency is to focus our valuable resources on that 20% of industry which carries a higher risk. And indeed, even that smaller quantum of 20%, we can run our data analytics and we can conduct our investigations on that small sliver of trade which presents the highest risk. So both from an industry perspective in terms of economic prosperity, but certainly from being able to target our resources more effectively, there is absolutely a benefit to having a trusted trader program in place.
Thank you. As you can see, that sort of provides a little bit of a backdrop, I guess, that if we look to more of the global situation, what I've done there is to actually put together what are the current AEO type programs. So authorised economic operator is obviously the more colloquial term that's used globally, but that just sort of gives you some insight into the number of companies and the countries that currently have their various supply chain security customs compliance programs. Some have more focus on supply chain security, others will just have customs compliance programs, but they are mixed and varied. But I guess the key takeaway is for companies such as yourselves is what is that strategy globally around connecting these countries that currently have these schemes. So I think it's important to understand that to have that supply chain security pipeline globally is to connect these programs up across the globe. And once that is achieved, it works on itself as an efficiency, mainly because each program has mutual recognition. So each of these countries will recognise each other's accreditation program. So therefore, if you're an exporter going out of Australia, you will be recognised going into the US and vice versa. As I mentioned, each country has their own program titles. So for Canada, for instance, I don't want to go into too much details, but it just gives you a bit of a flavour. As you move around the world, these programs are operating, but they're all operating under different titles, but effectively all meaning the same thing. That is secure supply chains, smooth passage through the barrier, minimal interference by the customs authorities, thereby giving you a greater guarantee of your supply chain and security going into these countries. So as you can see, I won't dwell on that too much, but that just gives you a bit of a picture, a bit of an overview in relation to those programs. The last one is really just showing you where those countries that just simply have a customs compliance program, so they don't really have supply chain security at this point, but they're moving towards those sort of, they're having this sort of like in Thailand, the gold card. It really is a smooth passage from a customs compliance perspective, and that's their key focus, with supply chain security taking a little bit of a backseat, but it's mainly compliance driven. And certainly in Australia, I've for the last 4 or 5 years been working with the likes of Schneider Electric and Volkswagen, and we've achieved some great gains in relation to compliance. I know there are some international freight forwarders in the audience, but also they are responsible for lodging declarations through the various customs authorities, and what we like to do is to help companies in relation to that compliance and do some risk reviews. We're also finding significant savings where there's some overpayments. The world's not perfect, supply chain's not perfect, and there are some issues around how those declarations are made. So I guess that's the global scenario in relation to the various programs. What I'd like to do now is move to something that I've decided to quit my day job. It's something that I've had on in my mind for a good 15 years. We've heard earlier about IT solutions. We've started up World Customs Portal, Marie and I, my wife, and we're going on the journey. So we're starting it now. It comes under the banner of Wilkes International Group. It's our company. It'll have World Customs Portal as its forefront, but it'll also have the advisory supply chain security review aspects in the advisory capacity. But certainly today I wanted to sort of portray what that means, what does it look like. So for 15 years, I've been looking at the scenario where effectively multinational corporations' international purchase orders that drive their business are somewhat neglected to some degree within the international trade environment, and certainly by a lot of the service providers in that environment too, unfortunately. So World Customs Portal, what it's designed to do is to free up the declaration process, smooth the flows, improve compliance, but also work together with international freight forwarders to achieve the common outcome of supply chain security and smooth passage through the barrier. But more importantly, to give multinational corporations control back of this area, which has largely been in an uncontrolled space for quite some time. For about approximately 18 months now, we've had a terrific advisory panel helping us to get to this point. And to that end, I'd like to thank Dr. John Gattorna for his great advocacy, counsel and strategy and overall support in our advisory panel to get us to this point today. We've also got a senior partner from the first-tier law firm in Australia, Freehills, and we also have David Mortimer, who is an extinguished business gentleman who was some time ago, probably about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, was the global CEO of TNT Group, and he's been chairman at Australia Post and Leighton Holdings and other companies. So we're very lucky to have him, David Mortimer, as our non-exec chairman, and my wife and I sit on that board, and we are encouraged by the support we've been receiving so far. So why World Customs Portal? Obviously, multinational corporations, as I've mentioned, there's a lack of ability to directly lodge declarations, and there are various IT platforms around that will look after the database, but they don't tend to flow through to the declaration process of lodging either outbound or inbound declarations. So once you connect, I guess if you look at the ultimate scenario would be to have both accreditation under the AEO schemes around the world, plus also the IT solution that supports that. The other thing from my perspective is with multinational corporations is we're taking the purchase order, decomposing it and doing all those functions in an IT world in collaboration with obviously the logistics provider. So what that will do is once that data flow commences, it gives us the ability to provide visibility around key metrics in that supply chain. Because of that lack of transparency, what we're looking at doing is also managing that sort of customs function. As Dr. Raba mentioned, it's a function that's, from my perspective, is gaining more attention. It is, we are achieving great results for clients, and that's driving into removing those extra costs embedded into the supply chain. It also provides a greater margin for products and therefore increased profitability. And once you can do that, you only need one product to remove the duty, and it's done for the rest of its kind of natural life. So it has ongoing benefits as well. So what is WCP? It'll be a single access point for the complete view of the duty paid and saved across countries, broker forwarder information, along with information on the benefits of free trade agreements. So what we want to do is provide this data visualisation as well as a single window. To date, there is only a single window within country, and I've certainly talked to a lot of customs authorities. The Director General in Singapore Customs, I've spoken to him and mentioned, given the relationship between Singapore and Australia, for instance, why don't we have a single window country to country? And his immediate response was they do not have the financial budget or strength to be able to undertake such a large IT project. And when I mentioned that if a private sector company could provide that single window, country to country, he was most accommodating and preferred, where possible, to connect direct with multinational corporations. And the reason for that, more than anything, is it can actually, that the actual customs authorities know when that message is coming in, it's from a reliable source. And therefore there's no one piggybacking or trying to circumvent the barrier. Obviously within that data set there is the management of the purchase order flow, but also invoices and the SKUs. So there's a database that has all the SKU information and all the requisite customs declaration key data fields will be in there, again, for multinational corporations to have the visibility around SKUs and countries and duties, etc. So there'll be complete visibility in relation to that, and that will help obviously planning, but also receiving, say, electronically, mostly, purchase orders will have a date of arrival as well, so we can also do some forecasting off that database of what the likely duty outlay is going to be in the months ahead. We're also providing, as I mentioned, analytical dashboards. These can be configured to a multinational corporation's requirements, and they can be pushed through both obviously PCs, iPads and phones, and they can be pushed out at a rate or frequency that's required to the client. So we want to make sure that we're agile and nimble enough to provide the data that multinational corporations are looking for in this space. I guess one of the key metrics that we work on is what is the average duty rate across all products per country, and what are you happy with? What's your outcome? How low do we think we can reasonably get that? And we use that benchmark to track what's happening around country to country. So, as I mentioned, the new technology will be able to present that data in a number of ways. It can present transactional information, it can present information around customs values, it can look at the free trade agreements, where's the uptake there, where isn't the uptake on free trade agreements, and aggregate information and provide, as I say, those reports that can be pushed out even through phones, which are widely used today. We also are providing a trusted source. Obviously this is confidential information, and it's a trusted source whereby we've got the data in transit security protocols built in, and we also have data at rest, and it will be scalable. So just to put it into perspective, this is currently being built, so it'll be ready for launch in the next 3 to 4 months. So we have got expressions of interest from a number of investors at the moment, and we're very confident that the build will get through to prototype very soon, and then we'll be able to launch into various countries. Our initial focus will be the APAC region of the world, and then move out from APAC to a global scale into other countries, depending on client demands. We also want to provide, as we'll have the purchase order information, a tracking tool. As Jana said, I think that the IT side of this solution is important. So that is the tool that you can track purchase orders. Where is that purchase order? Anywhere in the globe. That's interfacing with the maritime software systems, and it's also interfacing with the port systems. So we can go from a purchase order to a bill of lading to a ship to a container number and track that all the way through into store or into a distribution centre. And I guess that in talking to John too, John talks of the customer experience, and we think this will certainly support the brave new world of opening up company systems to the customer. That will give some level of assurance or support in moving into that paradigm. So as I mentioned, the engine will track and review the purchase orders. I guess it's mostly been in express courier environments, the tracking scenario, but this will take it into the multinational corporate environment for the first time that I'm aware of. There may be others out there, but it's certainly a tool for the future. What WCP can do, is analyse information, identify savings against duty paid, etc. So yes, thank you for your time. I need to move. My apologies for taking a bit longer, but so I'm certainly around for any questions, and we look forward to the future and hopefully being back at the next one talking about our successes. So thank you.
I guess we still have some time for questions because the official time was 11:05, so at least we have 5 minutes, I guess. Is it right? Or is it 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes for questions. Vicky, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Vicky. I'm Vicky from Costco. I'm working for the logistics company of Costco in Greece. And I would like to place a comment and after a question to Hans. So, you know, Hans, that the topic of your panel is very specialized. It can be understood by people that are specialized on the object of your panel. They should be custom brokers or tax custom experts so as to understand what is the benefit of such regimes that both of your panelists have referred to. So my question is how this can be translated into numbers. You know, and we have discussed last night, that Costco is taking a lot of effort to change the route of products that are importing from China to Middle Europe. It's difficult to change the route. It's difficult to find margins and make a very cost-competitive proposal to the clients, but there are a lot of other benefits behind it. What we try to do is to highlight the time that they gain through Piraeus. And we tried to translate it into numbers depending on stock's value. How do you calculate in your organization, which is a big organization, Volkswagen Group, to transform the cost benefit that your group may have by using such regimes through the ports, through the countries your products are imported from?
It's a very good question. It's referring to KPIs, which I just touched upon before. How can we measure the KPIs? There's not one KPI. I told you, like for example, the ratio between customs duties paid in a country and the import volume and so on. We can use it for certain plausibility checks. What we have implemented is for certain processes we are responsible for. We have not extended it yet to service providers, but this will come once they use our whole IT system. So we will give access to our suppliers, to our delivery suppliers, access to our systems, and then we can track the whole time which is needed for a good to be transported from one port or from one place to another. But what we can do and what we already do, and I get per week an overview over the figures, how fast is our own system, for example, in exports. Because you can imagine exports are very crucial for us. When we send our products, our cars to different countries, our logistics department makes no difference whether those are designated for EU countries or for third countries, which is only customs relevant in exports. Because from the logistics perspective, this would not use any synergies. Yeah? And this means if, for example, only 10% on one train are cars to be exported, and we have not right away in the electronic system the release from our customs authorities, which is given electronically per car, then the total train stops. So it's really crucial to have this time minimized. And I get this is the first KPI which I have really in seconds. Yeah? We have certain parameters saying up to 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so. It's not in hours. Yeah? How fast is the release coming back? And once there is a problem, we identify what is the problem or where comes the problem from. Is it a logistic process? Is it customs, our internal customs? Is it the IT system? Is it external audits by customs authorities and so on to track this? This is one of the KPIs, but unfortunately the whole chain we have not implemented the suppliers, but we will do. We will find more and more of these KPIs to track this.
Hans-Georg, we're going to have to leave it, I'm afraid, because there's another panel
no
ready
problem.
to go.
So unfortunately, only one question, but of a woman who could not answer the question before. so we this was good, and I have to thank you, both panelists, for your presentations and your efforts, and I hope your interest in customs and your respect of customs people has increased by this.
Thank you, panel, and thank you, Dr. Raba. We have to move on directly. We've got an incredibly tight agenda today, a lot on the agenda, so thank you very much. If the next panel could come on up, it's panel 8, Leaders Forum, CEO's Perspectives on Enterprise Supply Chains, which will be chaired by Dr. Mark Doktoroff. Please come forward, Mark. He's CEO of R&D Associates. He's a supply chain management expert to such an extent that he was a mentor to John Gattorna himself way back, and he's been a consultant in over 50 different countries around the world, so he knows this topic very well. Please welcome this next panel. It'll take a minute to mic everybody up, so you can have a glass of water or relax for a moment just while they get ready.